Hello, this is Mike with Easy Archery Lessons, and I'm so excited that you bought that step-by-step guide for tuning your bow. In just a matter of a few days, we're going to get your bow tuned up and you're going to be shooting great. So, these secret videos go hand in hand with the guide, the ebook that you purchased. And the videos are going to show you exactly everything that's in the ebook, but by using the two together, you're going to be able to read about it and see it in action. The bow that I'm going to be setting up is this Bear Grizzly. I actually purchased this used for a good price, and it needs to be set up. It's in almost brand new condition. The first thing that you want to do, of course, is put any of the extra accessories that you want on your bow, because your bow could shoot a little different depending on whether you have these accessories or not. So I put the quiver on, I put a few arrows in there, and I put some string silencers on there as well. But for this bow, that's all I need. You can also see that on the Bear Grizzly, it already has the bear hair rest and the leather side plate. If you have a bow that don't has those already installed, then go ahead and buy those and get them installed. So let me show you how we're going to do the first part of the setup, and we'll get going on shooting on this step-by-step guide. So in getting your bow set up for the first shot, of course you're going to need all of this equipment, at least to start. You're going to need a printout of the ebook and something to write with, some tape. You're going to also need your arm guard and your finger tab. And you definitely need a bow square, something similar to this, and of course your stringer. Now, since I put the quiver on, I have to work on this side of the bow. That's where the arrow goes. So it makes it a little bit awkward. But I want to test it out with the quiver, so it has to be installed and you just have to work around it. The first thing that you're going to need to do is grab your bow square and put it right on the string like this. You want the string riding right in these first grooves. You don't want it down lower like that. That's not the right spot. You need it up in the first groove there. Then make sure you get that straight, and then you're going to slide it down the string until it just touches the shelf. So it's resting on the shelf similar to the way an arrow would be resting. You can push it too far and that's a mistake. And then you need to read what your riser height is. Now, some people measure the riser height to the far end of the handle. Some people are to the top part of the shelf. You can see how this one is curved like this. Some people measure to either side here. I like to measure to right there. It ends up being a little shorter, but as long as you're consistent, then that's going to be the key. In my situation, I can see that my riser height here is going to be 5 1/4 inches. Right to there, 5 1/4. But the first thing I want to do is grab a piece of tape, like this, and I want to put my tape above the 0, and I'm just going to start at 3/8 of an inch. That's where I like to start. So I'm going to tape it right on the string, just like that. So you can see that right at 3/8 of an inch is where the bottom of my tape is going to be. So when I nock an arrow, I'm going to put it right up to the bottom of that tape. Now that you have your tape on the string, this is going to act as your temporary nock position. Now that you have that on there, go ahead and put your protection on and grab one of your bear shaft arrows, the one that's recommended in the chart. For me, that is the 340, carbon 340. Make sure it's a bear shaft so it does not have any fletching on the end. And then what you're going to do is put it on your bow, right beneath where the nock point is, and you're going to shoot it about 3 or 4 times. Get a helper to help you with this, because what you're trying to do is listen to hear about how loud it's shooting, and then you're going to adjust the riser height and see if you were able to make it a little quieter. So let's take some shots. Alright, so I just took a couple of shots and the arrows in this quiver were rattling a lot. So I'm going to have to do a review on this quiver at some point. So far I'm not impressed. So I took the arrows out so that I'm not distracted by that noise, and let's keep shooting to make sure that we don't have any extra sounds, and we can just listen to how the arrow comes off the string. Ready? Let's go. Okay, so I measured my riser height and I wrote that number down. So now I'm going to make my string shorter. Put the bowstring on here. Pull that up. Get up higher. I can take the end off over here just like this. Now I want to look at how the string is twisted, and I want to make the string shorter, so I'm going to continue to twist it in that same direction, maybe 3, 4, 5 times. And then I know where I want it, or at least I think I know. So I'm going to pull back up on this so I can put the string back on the limb tip. Make sure it's seated properly right in the groove. Before you put all the pressure back down, check to make sure it's in each groove. Then you can release it. And now just double check to make sure that the string is inside the grooves on both ends, and then pull it back a couple of times just to make sure it's all seated properly. Alright, now let's go check our riser height. Alright, so you can see on my riser height here that I twisted the string about 6 times or so, and now I'm down to 5.5, or up to 5.5. I was 5 1/4, now I'm 5.5. Let's write that number down. Okay, now that you've got that new riser height, use the same arrow and the same knock point and shoot it a few more times. And listen carefully to see if it is just a little bit quieter than with the previous riser height. Okay, so what I've found is with my bow, that 5.5-inch riser height was better than the 5 1/4. But I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna go up to 5 3/4 and see if that's even better. And you just keep testing too. Go up by, make your riser height different by 1/4-inch increments, and keep going until it either is not getting any more quiet or it starts to actually get louder. But know what your manufacturer says as far as riser height goes, and don't go too far past their recommended. So keep testing it until you find the right sound volume for you, and then write that riser height down. So I measure my riser height from the string to the first part of the shelf, the handle here. And I went from 5 1/4 to 5.5, and it kept getting quieter, so I went to 5 3/4, and that was quieter. When I bumped it up to 6, it was either the same or slightly louder, so I backed it back to 5 3/4. Now, the manufacturer says that this particular bow should be between 6.5 and 7.5 inches, but I believe they're measuring right to the top part of this shelf. So if I look at that, you can see I'm at 7 1/4. So I am right within the manufacturer's recommendations. But the number that I'm going to remember for me is from here to here, 5 3/4. That's my riser height. So what's your riser height? Put it down in that chart, and we can adjust it later if we need to. That's the end of step 1.